1 week season.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color? Happy Halloween to all my ghosts, ghouls, and goblins. Crushed that. For Halloween, we are here for week 9. You know what the deal is. This is Searching for Ceiling, presented by 1 Week Season and Sharp Football Analysis. And without further ado, we'll bring him right in, Mr. Rich Hribar, I should say. Mr. isn't even adequate, dude. The man, the myth, the legend, the great Mr. Rich Hribar. How we doing today, dude?
Yeah, what's the good word, man? Happy Halloween to you. What is on the agenda tonight? At the Hilow residence,
Dude, all of the candy. We have apparently, so we just moved into this neighborhood, and apparently it's like the neighborhood where the city comes to.
Okay.
So yeah, I had to go
You got to bring it.
I had to buy like $300 worth of candy. Yeah, I had to get all the good shit. But yeah, we're excited for tonight, man.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we had the Halloween fall on the weekend. The Friday. That means we'll get Saturday next year, so we get a couple fun weekend
dude.
Halloweens, man.
Yeah, I like this comment. Buddy the Elf and Cam Scadaboo's dad.
Yeah, I should have just put on an Arizona State hat, and I could have.
Yeah, it would have been it, man.
Yeah, I was recording with Davis before this. I didn't have a chance to slide my costume on, so I apologize to everyone.
That's all right. We are here, dude. Before we get into the good stuff, let's get the mandatories out of the way. It is Halloween, and Rich has a special sale for all of our listeners this weekend. You can use code Halloween to save 50% off statewide over at sharpfootballanalysis.com. Go to sharpfootballanalysis.com and click the blue bar at the top of the page to claim this offer today. 50% off, man. That is a good deal. Over at 1 Week Season, the Bink Machine for all you optos. And if you haven't used an opto, I highly recommend the Bink Machine if it is your first go. It is very, very user-friendly and easy to use. Week 9 only, $49 for the rest of the season. That goes through the playoffs, so it works out to about $3.50 a week. So highly recommend taking advantage of that as well. Here we are, man. Week 9. We were talking offline how we have been so close to binkages this season, but if you are missing that one piece, you don't have a chance because the field has gotten a lot better. The scoring is getting a lot tighter. The chalk is hitting at a much higher frequency. That kind of makes a slate like week 9 a little bit more interesting to us because we have the highest median game total week of the season, but pricing is fairly tight. Now, that could change here in the next hour or so by the time we're done recording this, once we get a peek at some of these injury reports from Friday. But right now, man, pricing is tight. What do you make of this slate and kind of how are you approaching it, if at all, differently?
Yeah, I was a big fan. Like when I write up the games, when I dive in to start the week and I start writing up the games, I was like getting like 4 or 5 games in, and I was just like, oh, like everything's been pretty positive so far. I was like, oh, like I'm into like a lot, feeling a lot of these plays, feel like these good these game environments feel good. And then, you kind of, that's before like price, I really like look at pricing. And then when I kind of like unveiled, like, all right, these are the guys I like. And I looked at pricing, oh, pricing is really tight this week. And then we've kind of had some things open up throughout the week, but definitely feel very positive about this week. It's kind of wide open. We've got a lot of good plays on this. Like they are high price plays, but like we've got arguably the best looking, like probably quarterback and wide receiver slate we've had in terms of high price guys. And then like got Jonathan Taylor juiced up now finally on both sites. He's 11K on FanDuel, like 9-8 on DraftKings. I'm not going to tell anyone they can't play Jonathan Taylor, but it's very hard to justify like those kind of pricing. It's like Nikola Jokic pricing, like in basketball DFS, like you need the triple double to get there. We need the Jonathan Taylor triple double.
Triple score.
He's been giving them, but it's very high price to pay. We're looking for like some cheapies. That's what we're looking for on this show so we can kind of get all those big powerhouse guys in our lineups that we want.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And you kind of, we could have value opening up. Obviously, there are like 3 major running back spots where we could see some value open up. We're tracking Ramondre Stevenson. I would guess he's going to miss. Do we finally get Travion unleashed? I don't know. Isaiah Pacheco looks like he's going to be out. How much do we make of Kareem Hunt in a good matchup on paper, on the ground? We've got Kamani Vidal in a good spot, priced only $6,300. Hassan Haskins is expected to be out again. We've got the potential for Kyle Monangai, dependent on DeAndre Swift. Rashawn Johnson has also not practiced, so it could be like a Monangai-only backfield against the Bengals. So there's a lot going on here that we still have to kind of work through that could open up a very, very chalky build as far as where the field is going because pricing is so tight right now. There are that within that discussion, I think there are some very interesting ways to access value because I think that's what this slate kind of comes down to is accessing value that the field might not get to. So we're going to talk about some of those spots here. Before we do that, though, and talk about individual type plays, I want to talk about some of these game environments. We have 3 games with a game total of 50 points or higher. We also have 2 other games that are currently sitting at a game total of 48.5. We have a slew of games in the 43.5 to 45 point range. But yeah, we're expecting some points to be scored here. Are there any games, I'm just going to throw it directly to you. Are there any games that like kind of stick out to you that are not one of the top 3 as a spot to potentially go hunting for value here?
Yeah, I kind of think of it in the early slate, 49ers Giants.
Yes, that was mine.
All right, cool. So we're in lockstep, so we can start there.
Let's start there. Talk to me a little bit about that game. What are you seeing here?
Well, just the current state of the 49ers has opened kind of the door for this team. Like they don't have any pass rush at all right now. You know, even after they had lost Nick Bosa, it was struggling, and then now losing Bryce Huff, they just can't get to the quarterback at all. I mean, they're 31st in the league now in sack rate. They're 27th in pressure rate. And you saw it last week against like an offensive line in Houston that, you know, is objectively not good. They've made some changes in recent weeks to kind of mask some of the issues that they have in the interior, but like they just couldn't get off the field against CJ Stroud. Like he was 11 for 11 on third downs.
Right.
And we've got Jackson Dart as kind of like a wild card. We know he offers a little bit of rushing. He can get you rushing touchdowns. We have the injury to Cam Scattaboo. You know, sorry, my son is doing well. If anyone is wondering, he is doing well, you know, so prayers of a week. So we have cheap Tyrone Tracy. We also have potential leverage, like because the 49ers have so many injuries though, and they're not getting to the quarterback, they're starting to give a lot of production to wide receivers. So you've got
one archetype of wide receiver.
Yep. So you've got Wan'Dale Robinson, like a slot dude. We've got Darius Slayton as a cheap guy. I know the field wants to force Theo Johnson. I know they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a little more hesitant on him just because he's dependent so hard on touchdowns. I'm not going to push back on anyone that has a $3,500 tight end. They're like, this makes my build work. By all means.
I got a 2,900 one that might make it work a little better.
I love it. Yeah. But you know, Theo Johnson, 37% of his fantasy points are just touchdowns. It's the second highest rate among tight ends. If he doesn't score, like you just don't have a lot to work with.
If he doesn't score twice, really.
Really, yeah. So I prefer to go through like Dart and the receivers more so, and especially against leverage against Tracy, because for all the issues the 49ers have had, they spent a lot of money, or not money, capital, I should say, because in terms of draft capital, in terms of being able to stop the run this year. Mm-hmm. And that actually has worked. They are stopping the run. They're vulnerable to receiving backs. So that's an out for Tyrone Tracy. But I still think like you're looking at like the Woody Marks game from last week as like kind of the expectation for like an upside game for Tyrone Tracy in this game.
Right.
So, and maybe you feel differently. Maybe you think there's a lot more potential for him to have like a 25 plus point PPR game. I think he's probably more in like the 17 to 20 point range is like a ceiling, kind of like his ceiling outcome. He's more of a median play for me. So he's not really popping for me. I like the Giants passing side a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Wan'Dale Robinson, specifically speaking to him, I mean, he still has this rap of like slot only low A dot type guy. But if we look at kind of what he has done in this offense without Malik Neighbors, it kind of pops to me. And why is that? The 49ers have utilized the 6th highest rate of cover 3 this season, against which without Malik Neighbors, Robinson carries a 2.39 yards per route run, 0.21 targets per route run, and 0.40 fantasy points per route run this season. So these are like well above average numbers for a certain split. And I'd expect him to be leaned on a little bit heavier here, given the high game total, given what we expect the 49ers to clamp down on, which, as you mentioned, is the run. So I'm I'm really actually considering Malik Neighbors fairly heavily this week
Yeah,
as a
Wandale.
potential. Or yeah, what did I say? Malik? What did I-
No, he was on your brain though because of the
Yeah,
absence
yeah,
of him.
My brain, for those that saw my tweet, we had a little medical emergency, so my brain has
Oh,
not
no.
been fully there
You
this
all right?
week. My daughter had a seizure at home, and she went unconscious for about an hour. So we had our family's first ambulance ride on Wednesday evening. So
Yeah.
that was like right during my main prep day. So lost a little bit of that. So my head is a little bit scattered. My baby girl is home safe and doing well. So
Good to hear. Good to hear.
got through that.
When it's your kids, man, it's
Dude, I know, like take my eyes, but I swear to God, don't touch my kids, man. I hate.
I hope she's doing well. I hope she's gonna. Is she up for tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the other
All
kids were all worried about, oh my God, is she going to be able to go trick or treating?
Well, we could have pulled her together. We could have pulled some candy together for her.
Yeah, right. So she's doing well. We're going trick or
Good.
treating, and waiting on lab results to hear what the hell went on with that. But she's doing well. On the other side of this game, there are also some very, very interesting dynamics as far as the San Francisco offense goes. Teams have been playing, because of all the injuries to the 49ers, teams have played the second highest rate of zone against the 49ers this season. So they have not seen a lot of man coverage. What do the Giants do? They play a lot of man coverage. So it's a very interesting dynamic to this game, where we do have like some players with some fairly significant splits against man this season from the 49ers. Juwan Jennings, 0.35 targets per route run against man. That's elite, gentlemen, friends. And we're seeing the Giants play the second highest rate of man coverage at 41.3%. So Juwan Jennings is priced all the way down at 4,300. And that is also, he's led the team in targets over the last 2 weeks after George Kittle came back. So that was only 7 targets a game, but notwithstanding, this team has not seen a lot of man, and the Giants play a lot of man.
They did last week, even with the injuries.
Yeah, dude. Are you at all interested in Juwan Jennings here?
Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
because of that, when you always kind of question, right? Like we talked about this last week with the Cowboys. They had broken tendency against the Commanders and played a lot of man coverage, but it was like, all right, was that because, Chris Moore was a bit like a wide receiver one
right.
in the offense? And like, that was a game plan specific. And then we saw that it didn't completely flip. They still ran a little bit of man coverage against the Broncos, a little more than they did before, but like they flipped back and did play like primarily like 70% zone snaps. But even last week with Paulson Adebo out and Javon Holland out, against AJ Brown and against Devontae Smith, the Giants are like, you know what we do? Play a lot of man coverage. They were second in the NFL last week in rated man coverage with those injuries. Holland looks like he's going to be back. Adebo, no. Adebo has not practiced, at least to this point. It's Friday. We're recording this Friday at noon, and he has yet to practice this week. So I would take that as a signal that like it's pretty sketchy that he's going to be out. And the Giants already, even with Adebo playing all the games at one, like they're already 20th in fantasy points allowed to wide receiver ones this season. Anyways, you broke down the man coverage splits for Jennings. The price is there. I also expect the Mac Jones to have more success in this game than he has. He's run into a little bit of a buzzsaw here a little bit. In terms of pass defenses, Rams, Buccaneers, Falcons, Texans in a row. Not only that, those teams all can get after the quarterback, which has been a problem for Mac Jones. When pressured, he's 28th in yards per pass attempt. He's 20th in rate of passes to go for first down or touchdown. But when kept clean, he's 12th in yards per pass attempt and 11th in rate of pass attempts to go for first down or touchdown. So just from a top-down stance, I think the quarterback play is going to be better, and the matchup then does line up for them to have, more of a signal for Juwan Jennings here to have production as well. And then, Christian McCaffrey looks pretty dope here too.
Yeah. I am drawn to team stacks as well. I mean, you mentioned the injuries. There's 3 injured cornerbacks for the Giants right now. We don't know how many of those guys are coming back. So Deontay Banks, baby, Deontay Banks season. Let's go. Let's ride. But yeah, Mac Jones, Christian McCaffrey, Juwan Jennings makes a very interesting primary. And I think it carries some significant upside here. You get Jennings as the value piece to kind of lower the composite salary off of Christian McCaffrey. And there is just an easy bring back in Wan'Dale Robinson. So I don't mind turning this into a game environment bet at all.
Love it.
There is another game that I want to talk about before we continue that is in the afternoon portion of the slate. Is that accurate? Let me double check that.
There's only 3. and
Oh
one
no,
is
it's in the morning. It's in
one
the
is
early-
the game. There might have as well been one afternoon game this week.
the midseason Super Bowl, right? Or the midseason AFC Championship, we'll say.
Yeah,
AFC teams. But no, this another game in the early portion where we expect it to be one-sided. But I think there is paths to this turning into a game environment we want to talk about, and that is the Chargers and the Titans. And why is that? This Titans team is expected to be extremely concentrated. We have Chigakonkwo, who had a midweek downgrade in practice. We got to keep an eye on that. And that's important because that 2,900 tight end that I alluded to earlier is Mr. Gunnar Helm. There's some very interesting splits for the Titans in this game that I think we need to talk about as well. But we also have the release of Tyler Lockett. Chimera DK went into a featured role last week. We saw last week Cam Ward attempted 38 passes. That target breakdown was like 8 targets to Chimera DK, 8 targets to Van Jefferson, 8 targets to Elike Yomanor, and then 8 targets to the combination of Gunnar Helm and Chigakonkwo. So if Chig is out this week, we have effectively 3 wide receivers that are going to be in featured roles on offense for almost every snap. We have Gunnar Helm, who's probably stepping into a feature role at tight end, pending Chigakonkwo's status. And all 4 of those guys are priced below 4K. It's a very interesting setup to me. Do you see at all any outcome where the Titans are at all pushing the Chargers here?
No.
Okay. I think there's a
but that doesn't mean that these guys at 4K I'm against any of what you're about to say, but like this team is just so dreadful, man. Like it's hard for me to put any faith. They have 6 double-digit losses. They're like trending to be historically one of the worst offenses in NFL history.
We have it's really funny because we have an offense in the league this year that's trending to be one of the best offenses in history in the Colts. So same division. Let's go.
Yeah. So, but I'm not against, like you said, like, because we know there's gonna be a ton of dropbacks in this game for them.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not against like saying if you have a one-off that you want to push me on, I'm open. I'm at least open to that. But do I believe that they actually push the Chargers like in terms of like threatening to win this game or like pushing the scoreboard? I don't think we have any evidence of like that. So tell me on that part of it.
Well, I think it's an interesting discussion to be had because the Chargers have really only controlled 2 games the entire season. Last week on Thursday Night Football against the Vikings, and then in week 2. Those are really the only 2 games that they have legitimately controlled. And that's important because in those 2 games, Justin Herbert attempted only 27 and 25 passes. So is this a game? And I think this game is so interesting because the potential outcomes are so very easy to play into, in that if we are buying into the Chargers just running away with the game, like Kamani Vidal is underpriced at 6,300.
Yeah.
If we at all think that the Titans can push a little bit, Justin Herbert doubles become very, very interesting because of the state of the Tennessee secondary. They ship out L'Jarius Sneed. They have they're effectively an open book. People are going shopping in Tennessee this season for any value that they can find. And they're in the midst of a multi-year rebuild. They've gone, and all 4 players, primary contributors for the Titans for week 9 are rookies. We have Cam Ward, we have Gunnar Helm, who's a rookie, 4th round rookie. We have Chimera DK and Chigakonkwo. So
I know Yomanor, yeah.
That's right. Did I say Chigakonkwo? Elike Yomanor, not Chigakonkwo. So yeah, like all 4 of those guys being rookies, it's very interesting to me. Like if there's an outcome where the Titans can score 2 touchdowns in the first half, I know, oh God, like probably not going to happen. But like if they can score 2 touchdowns in the first half, like something fluky happens. I think it really unlocks the potential upside for this game. So I like playing this game through the Chargers. I think you can do so in a plus EV manner because the field probably isn't going to be doing that as far as like a full team stack at the rate that I think they probably should here. And then conversely, like you can just place another percentage of your portfolio on the other outcome, which is like just playing Kamani Vidal. So I think it's at least interesting here.
Yeah, I mean, the Titans are going to enter this game now without their three starting cornerbacks that they had projected for the season. Obviously, L'Jarius Sneed's on IR. They traded Jarvis Brownlee 3 weeks ago, and they just traded Roger McCreary to open this week as well. So
Yeah.
they're hurting bad in the secondary, and they don't care. It's like by design, right? I assume that they care, but
Yeah.
but they were like open to saying like, hey, we understand what's going to happen the rest of this year. We're going to play some young guys. We're going to move off some of these contracts. Jeffrey Simmons also looks like he's not going to be back as well this week. And like you said, to me, like, yeah, the signal would be like the Chargers get ahead. It's a lot of Kamani Vidal. And then the pass reduction is the passes get reduced here. And then we'd have like a tougher run out because we're also in like this position now. We're doing a little bit of the whack-a-mole game with these pass catchers now at the Chargers with Rondé Gadsden, kind of stepping into the fold here as well. So and also like don't forget like Trey Harris is now playing in like one wide receiver sets and two
Yes.
receiver
He's
sets
the best
because,
blocker, which is
yep.
hilarious.
So he's playing a lot of early downs too. It's not just Gadsden getting elevation. It's Trey Harris now has also been playing more snaps because of that.
Right. We saw it last week where Trey Harris was like the only wide receiver on the field in the fourth quarter. It's like, man. But yeah, the other interesting aspect I think we need to talk about here is what we see from this Chargers defense. So since week 6, when Ridley left after only 6 offensive snaps, Gunnar Helm has a 0.26 targets per route run, 2.22 yards per route run, and 0.44 fantasy points per route run against cover 3 and cover 4. And that's important because the Chargers are playing cover 3 and cover 4 almost 60% of their defensive snaps. So I think there could be a signal here. Gunnar Helm is only 2,900, gives you that salary relief, can be played as a skinny with Kamani Vidal if you want to go that route, and give you some solid salary relief if that's where you're looking for it. Again, we might not need to go down there depending this running back stuff, but if we do need the value, I think he is an interesting piece to consider.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the running back stuff. What happens if it's going to be
dude.
a 3 cheap running back builds? Because I mean, there are some hammer running backs available too, excluding Jonathan Taylor at his salary.
Yes. Yeah, it'd be very interesting dynamic to the slate if we do get like these 3 value guys. I mean, Monagai would be a smash. Just throwing that out there at 4,600 Monagai. If it appears now Roschon Johnson is going to be out again, if DeAndre Swift, and he's been dealing with this groin injury for the past 3 weeks. This is the first week though that he went DNP.
Yep.
So that is something to keep an eye on. As we head towards the final injury report of the week. What else you got? Any other game environments that you want to talk about that are kind of might be going under the radar here?
And just as we're on to the Patriots are practicing right now, and Ramondre Stevenson is not practicing.
All right, here we go. Is Travion going to be leaned on?
Yeah, I mean, I think your home favorite, Gibson's been put on IR. We saw him actually get touches last week. And
we've seen the Falcons kind of give it up on the ground over the
past 3 weeks. It's not just the Falcons, it's the way they're giving it up, right?
They're getting bullied, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of teams have started to say, like, hey, if you want to play like base nickel and you're a lighter defense to begin with, we'll go heavy against you. So Atlanta now has faced the most running back runs this season with 2 or more backs on the field. 59. They're 24th in yards per carry allowed on those, 25th in yards allowed before contact on those runs. And you say, all right, well, they face San Francisco, Miami. Like those teams play heavy. They play with fullback. They're one of the few teams. Well, guess who's number 3? New England Patriots are 3rd in the league. They are also 5th in the NFL in rate of runs out of 22 personnel. And they also rank 11th in the NFL in rate of runs out of 12 personnel, which is also given Atlanta problems. It's 2 tight end sets. Atlanta's 30th in yards per carry allowed to running backs. And they have the lowest success rate in the NFL against those runs. So I think it does open up. Travion Henderson is a home favorite. We know he's a guy that can turn in like explosives as well. So there's another guy on the board that we know probably like we're looking at is in play.
I think so. And also this game is in Foxborough. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
This game is in Foxborough. The Falcons are averaging a league low 10.7 points per game on the road this season. They have really, really struggled outside of Atlanta. So potential for a game environment to be working in Travion's favor as well there. Like that shout a good bit. All All right, what else you got? Any other game environments you want to hit on real quick?
Game environment wise, team wise. Well, were we gonna do the big ones, or do you want to just do like a one-off
Yeah,
here?
yeah, they're next. We're gonna talk
All
about
right.
them.
I mean, we got to talk about the Lions though.
Yes,
Low-owned Lions at home. What a like we've seen any competent quarterback that the Vikings has faced, they've gotten flooded. Like they've been really good against Michael Penix, Jake Browning, and Dylan Gabriel, and every other week they've just gotten crushed. And in this particular matchup, like the Lions, and we'll see, what John Morton has because it's the first John Morton matchup versus Brian Flores. But
right.
I mean, Jared Goff has absolutely destroyed Brian Flores. Obviously we know Brian Flores loves the blitz anyways. This is like a fair, they're the zone blitz team, but they've blitzed Jared Goff on 64% of his dropbacks in these games with a 50% blitz rate or higher in every one of those games. And against the blitz, Jared Goff, 81% completion rate, 9 yards per pass attempt, 5.7% touchdown rate. Amon-Ra St. Brown in these games has gone absolutely just nuts. He against the blitz has caught 25 of 29 targets for 4.8 yards per out run at 3 touchdowns. He's gone over 100 yards in 3 of the 4 games, 77 yards in the other. He's already been super really high targeted against the blitz again this season, 33% of his routes. And then this is another team that can't stop heavy sets against the run right now either. They're getting absolutely killed against multiple tight end sets. Minnesota's allowing the most rushing yards per game against multiple tight end sets. They're 29th in success rate, and Detroit uses 12 personnel at the 6th highest rate on runs, 13 personnel at the 4th highest rate. Jahmyr Gibbs is 4th in the NFL in rate of runs with multiple tight ends on the field. In 4 games against Brian Flores, Jahmyr Gibbs has 9 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So like I think this is a Lions onslaught build if you can fit it in, and you can. I think now, if they're not even going to be popular on this slate, and we'll see how popular they get, because most people like to play the Lions when like you can play them in a game environment. But I would argue they're almost better to play in these games where like you can just play all the Lions. You don't need to bring anyone back with them.
Hear me out. Goff triples.
Who you want to do, J-Mo?
No, J-Mo actually. So I think they're Laporta. There's some very interesting splits too in this game. Very, very splits heavy week. The Vikings, you mentioned that they are a zone blitz team. Beyond that, they're a too high heavy team. They've played too high at the highest rate in the league at 69.4%. Amon-Ra against too high this season, 31.2% target rate, 0.33 targets per route run, 39.5% air yard share, 3.23 yards per route run, 0.75 fantasy points per route run. That fantasy points per route run against too high, only Rashee Rice, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Zach Ertz of all people are averaging higher fantasy points per route run against too high this season. The player that checks in second in underlying metrics on the Lions against too high is Sam Laporta. Yeah. And that is different than years past where we have kind of seen him as like a man beater type of tight end. You mentioned all the stuff with Jahmyr. So yeah, I think everything from any of these guys as a one-off piece to like Goff plus Jahmyr Gibbs plus Amon-Ra St. Brown plus Sam Laporta is completely viable in this spot. On the other side, it's like we know the Lions are going to play a lot of man coverage. It's really only Justin Jefferson against man this season. Like we have a small sample on Jordan Addison, but like he has been much more dominant against zone. So it becomes a little bit harder to throw all of that and turn it into a game stack with the price.
And we have the McCarthy factor.
And we have the McCarthy factor.
He hasn't played in 6 weeks. Small NFL sample. Real 100%. Tough. On the road.
Yeah.
Like no, I'm not even chasing a Viking, to be honest.
I don't think you need to, and I don't think you have to. If you want to bring down the salary of like a Goff triple or a Goff double, I think you can take swings on Jordan Addison as just kind of that like heavy red zone role if we need it. We haven't seen Addison take the field with JJ McCarthy, so we don't really have anything to go off of there. But I think you can take shots. That's where I would go if I'm adding a Vikings piece to like a Detroit overstack.
Love it.
And then finally, I think another game that is interesting that carries a lower game total that we should at least talk about a little bit is that Steelers and Colts. Well, Okay.
I consider this one of the good ones because it's a 50.
This is
the
I
50.
misspoke. This is a 50.5 game total. A lot of that, for the first time in a long time, isn't all on the Colts side. So this is the first game in a while where we have a low game spread, with a game involving the Colts. They're on the road, but Vegas is expecting the Steelers to punch back. And if we look at, this is another heavy splits game. The Colts are in cover 3 at borderline insane frequency. And DK Metcalf has just been the guy for the Steelers this season against cover 3. Has some stark splits there as well. And he's priced down at what, 5,500?
He's 55.
Like yeah. So
DraftKings.
he makes a nice potential value piece in this spot as well. Talk to me about the Colts, man.
Yeah, I think that we're just looking at like this game environment as, they are favored on the road, but look, them getting pushed. And I do expect the Steelers to actually push them as well. And the Steelers have success throwing the football. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has played really well, but if we're going to get push from the Pittsburgh Steelers side, that means we're going to have this passing game in a situation where they're going to have to drop back and throw. Daniel Jones is the QB1 in fantasy football points scored in the first half of football games, but the Indianapolis Colts are dead last in the NFL in second half drop back rate, which has kind of hurt them. And we don't get that full passing volume. That has been a significant signal in thwarting for Tyler Warren, who is the tight end 1 in overall fantasy points scored in the first half of games. And he drops to the tight end 28 in the second half of scoring because he averages 9 pass routes run per game in the second half of games. So if we're going to get a full run out of Tyler Warren on a slate where Brock Bowers is definitely going to be popular, we've already thrown Sam Laporta's name out there. People are going to go with Theo Johnson as a cheapie. Tucker Kraft is going to come up again, I'm sure, for a lot of Sims. Tyler Warren might be a little bit lost in the sauce, and he represents an absolute massive ceiling potential in this game. I mean, what he does after the catch is very adjacent to what Tucker Kraft does after the catch, who just bludgeoned the Steelers after the catch. They blitz a lot. They play a lot of man coverage. And what that does is allow a lot of these plays in the middle of the field where if you have an athletic tight end and they can break a tackle like these guys can, they're able to turn in a lot of production after the catch. So I genuinely do like Daniel Jones. I love Tyler Warren. I have another Colt that I like too. Let's see if we could talk about him too. I don't want to eat up the whole shot clock here, but wouldn't this be such a Mike Tomlin game to thump his chest and say, look at us. We held Jonathan Taylor to 4 yards per carry while Daniel Jones throws 3 passing touchdowns.
Yeah. And they give up 35 points. Yes.
Man. I do like this game a lot. I love it a lot through the Colts passing side with DK Metcalf as a bring back.
Yeah, earlier in the week on Tuesday on the DFS Labs show, I built a Daniel Jones triple, and I included Jonathan Taylor in that. And God forbid this guy who's in a route at a heavy rate scores a receiving touchdown, which is an interesting prospect. I probably, looking back, should have added DK Metcalf to that, but I built this on Tuesday, so it was a long time ago. You can check that out on the OWS YouTube channel. But yeah, I think Daniel Jones doubles, Daniel Jones overstacks, triple stacks, overstacking this game environment. Very, very interesting upside case to be made here. In that episode, I included Jonathan Taylor. I included Warren, and then I also included Alec Pierce as the downfield guy who's on the field a lot. He's priced at, I think, like 4,600, something like that. This week, and gives you access to splash plays that could drag Daniel Jones passing over 300 yards and get you the access to that bonus. Was he the guy that you said?
He was the dude. I mean, he's been getting targeted at a career high rate. He leads the NFL in yards per catch again. He did that last year, but he's getting more efficient targets this year. We talk about Pittsburgh man coverage, 7th highest rate. They have one of the highest blitz rates in the NFL. He's been Alec Pierce target on 28% of his routes against man coverage. It's like 11% higher than against zone. He's also averaging 2.6 yards per route run against the blitz. So I love him as that splash play upside guy. I don't have a problem with Pittman. It's just, Pittman's like that great cash game dude. He gets you that 20 points. If you look at his box score, you feel good when he's 5,100. You're like, hey man, I'm getting my 20 points. But the weeks he doesn't score a touchdown, he's been borderline kind of just whatever. You're not getting those high yardage games. A guy like Alec Pierce is a guy who could theoretically get the bonus, and maybe if he gets his first touchdown of the year, it's a long one. So
Yeah,
I like
on
him
2
a little
catches.
bit cheaper. Yeah, I like him as just like a little bit cheaper play. It's a bummer because Downs came back last week. I was really hoping that yesterday in
Yeah,
practice,
in
I was
practice.
hoping we were going to get one more week without Downs. But
Yeah.
I mean, but to me, Tyler Warren's like the standout here because the way the slate I think is going to be played by gamers too.
Mhm.
But I love the Colts passing side.
Yeah, we look at Mike Tomlin's defense. They go out and they spend all this money in the secondary. They go get the veterans, the long in the tooth guys who understand, and then they have all these issues with communications breakdowns. So where are they giving up production? It's on Yak over the middle of the field, Tyler Warren, and they're giving up deep shots. Enter Alec Pierce. So that's kind of the method behind the madness for the pairing, and I love them stacked up with a DK Metcalf bring back.
Yeah, and I think Rodgers will be fine, but like on this particular slate with these quarterbacks, like he's a guy like he'd be more of like you feel good about like in your managed leagues, you're streaming him or whatever. But I just don't know what kind of ceiling we're gonna have on this particular slate for him for him to like actually crack my quarterback pool because I let off like this quarterback slate's awesome. And when you have a quarterback driven slate, sometimes the slate can go bonkers because like if these quarterbacks are hitting like at a high rate, that means they're bringing people with them. And we start to see some real crooked scores.
Right. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers would be more like in my player pool if like they were playing the Colts and there weren't all these other games with high game totals. It's just highly unlikely he matters on the slate. Let's talk about another game with a higher game total. We'll get through these 3. We'll save the Chiefs and the Bills for last. So that leaves us with the Bears and the Bengals. I'll throw it to you because I have some strong feelings about this one.
Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting to see what we have today in terms of practice reports. Obviously, does DeAndre Swift get any type of practice in before the weekend? He's a guy that's missed a lot of time. Like we said, this is a little bit different for him. He has yet to DNP on Wednesday, Thursday in a row for the first time. So let's see if like he has an extra day or if he logs anytime. And then we got to see how Joe Flacco responds. I assumed yesterday they had him throw because they wanted to see how he felt today. They wanted to at least get him a session in to see how the shoulder responded. I will say, if Jake Browning plays, I'm not going to play Jake Browning, but I don't think Jake Browning's dead in killing this game environment if he plays. Like I think the consensus does feel like this. I think he's capable against this Bears defense, which is also not good. This is the Spider-Man. I mean, these defenses are awful. They're 30th and 31st in defensive success rate. They are tied in allowing the highest touchdown rate per drive on drives where they don't get a takeaway. And then when you look at Jake Browning, and not to defend Jake Browning in a sense of like, I think he's good. I mean, he played 3 good defenses, like really good defenses when he played. I mean, he played Minnesota, Detroit, and Green Bay. Like, this is the Bear. Like, I think he can have some success here to where he doesn't kill the other Bengals pieces in that context. So even if Browning plays, I think this game's live to hit. So
yeah, you mentioned all the injury stuff. We have Joe Flacco with a throwing shoulder AC joint sprain. We have DeAndre Swift, who has not practiced this week. It looks like Roschon is going to be out again. All 3 of the Bears' primary wide receivers in Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, and Luther Burden, and Olamide Zaccheaus, so all 4 we could say, are all on the injury report.
Burden isn't going to play.
Burden's not going to play. He has concussion. Odunze, Moore, and Zaccheaus all returned to a limited session yesterday, so that's at least improvement. And then we also have the Cole Kmet thing going on. So a lot to work through from both sides. But like I was texting the OWS guys earlier, and Mike put in our group chat, like, I don't know if there's going to be a punt in this game. Like there might not be a punt in this game.
Yeah, does we turnover a touchdown or
right? Yeah. And we look at the
the
Bears. It's like if they're not generating turnovers, we saw it the last 2 weeks. Like they're just getting stomped. You mentioned it earlier in the season, I think, where it was like they're either giving up scoring or they're generating a turnover. Like that's the 2 outcomes for them. So yeah, very, very interesting. I think this game total has the clearest path to breaking the slate, even more so, I would say, than that Chiefs and Bills game. And if things concentrate the way that we need them to here, that could lead to some insane scoring. I'm the Joe Flacco whisperer. I will always play Joe Flacco as long as he is slinging that football. whether if he checks out okay, and he's played, obviously that gives this game environment as a whole like a higher ceiling. But like you said, like I think Cincinnati Bengals players are playable, and I think he can do enough to kind of push the game environment. And speaking of Jake Browning, but obviously the ceiling is much higher here if Joe Flacco is able to start and stay in the game.
And if he plays, is there any concern like maybe we're going to stick with like because one thing that they've done since they've gotten Joe Flacco, because Joe Flacco's made the offensive line look good because he's getting the ball out of his hands at the past 3 weeks. He has the quickest time to throw.
That was Jake Browning too before that.
He has the fourth lowest pressure rate in the NFL since then. And it's really just been like a lot. The offense, if you watch them in the last 3 weeks, it's a lot of quick hitters to Jamar Chase. So like, are you going back to Higgins or are you just using the shoulder injury plus what they've been doing to kind of mitigate the defensive line of just saying like, hey, we're just going to continue to see like this entire offense built on like, throws within 10 yards line of scrimmage to Jamar Chase?
I think you can. We were talking also offline before we jumped on here. I ran a Flacco double in my main event roster last week, the 1100, whatever it was, over on DraftKings. It was looking so good after that 44-yard touchdown to Higgins, and that was his
last target.
Yeah, it's like, damn it, dude. They just completely fell on their sword in the second half. They needed that win too. That was bad juju. But anyway, yeah, I think you can go back to T. Higgins. And I think because he is such a big bodied red zone threat. So you're playing T. Higgins not by himself. Like he's not as useful naked as he is paired with Joe Flacco because you kind of need him to score multiple touchdowns. That is still within his range of outcomes here. So I don't hate going back to Joe Flacco doubles. And I think you can do so profitably. You can bring it back with one or two Bears players. And particularly if we get DeAndre Swift out and Kyle Monaghan as the lone dude there.
Yeah, I love it. And then they said we're just waiting on the DeAndre Swift thing. Because if DeAndre Swift is out, it's just like when you look at what the Bengals have done defensively against these running backs, I mean, it is just tried and true. I mean, last week they gave up 265 yards and 2 touchdowns to the Jets backfield. The week before that, they gave up 173 total yards to the Pittsburgh backfield. They faced Green Bay and Detroit the 2 weeks before that. So like those backfields typically have success against everyone, but those teams both had 150 total yards, their backfields. The week before that, they gave up 218 total yards to the Denver backfield. The week before that, 185 total yards to the Minnesota backfield. The week before that, 176 total yards to the Jacksonville backfield. I mean, dude, it is absolutely wild the numbers they're giving up to backfield production. And since the Bears have come out of their bye, they have shifted to be more of like the Ben Johnson, like what we've seen Ben Johnson do in years past with Detroit. Outside zone, we want to run the football, be run heavy, we want to play under center, we want to play action pass. They got kind of pushed out of that a little bit last week because of their defense and game script. But if they're able to operate in that capacity again, this is a perfect matchup for them to do that again.
Right. Yeah. So it's tough to
and Hendrickson is out.
Yes. He didn't finish the game last week, right?
He did. And he also didn't practice today on Friday.
Okay.
So
yeah, dude, like if Swift is out, Monaghan is a lock piece for me and I'll just differentiate elsewhere. Chase Brown. How are you feeling about Chase Brown?
Pretty mild.
Yeah, me too.
Because and here's why. So Chase Brown, and I know he's like kind of he's shown signs of life the past 2 weeks, and he's gotten to the bonus and he's a touch, but like there's some red flags in his usage because if you're relying on Chase Brown versus what we got last year was like he just got all the touches, and as a byproduct, he had all the short yardage work and he caught passes. He's not catching passes right now. He's in like a 60-40 split, and he's reliant on being a touchdown scorer and having rushing efficiency. Now you've gotten rushing efficiency the past 2 weeks, but he is not that archetype of player. Going back to Illinois, like you're asking him to run really pure unlimited touches. And I think that's just not a bet I want to consistently make. So, and especially if we get this slate kind of wide open, I don't think he's going to make my pool. So if I get locally dragged on that, we'll see. But Bears have been a lot better against the run out of the bye too, as well. So he's not someone I'm no pun intended, excited to chase.
Yeah, dude. Chase Brown at 5,900 when Kamani Vidal's sitting there at 6,300. DeAndre Swift on the other side, if he plays at 6,100, it's a difficult click for me. I won't be going there. And like we kind of mentioned at the beginning of the show, like this is a quarterback driven slate, but it is also very, very deep at running back. There are a lot of plays that we want to be jamming in at running back, and he just probably doesn't make that pool for me.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Chiefs and the Bills. And again, I'll throw it over to you. I want to hear kind of how you're viewing this game.
I mean, I'm excited for this game, like everyone else, to watch this game in real life. And we got two top 3 offenses. We've got 2 quarterbacks. Well, Mahomes is playing as good as he has in years, like right now, like the run he's been on. Look at him. He's completed 70% or more of his passes in 4 consecutive weeks. He did that 0 times prior. 8 yards surpassed him in 3 straight games. He had done that 0 times prior. He's got 3 or more passing touchdowns in 3 straight games, 4 of his past 5. And he's also about to blow past his career rushing yard marks. Like absolutely nuke them against a team that's 31st in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. And then anytime we have the Bills ever in these games, dude, this is where Josh Allen takes over.
This is super Josh potential.
Yeah. Anytime you have these big games, and in particular these games against Steve Spagnuolo, so I was like uncovering these because they've played a lot, multiple 4 years in a row. And I'm like, all right, well, what are the defensive tendencies? Who's doing what game plan wise? And Spags has been like pretty consistent, like every game against Josh Allen. Like he's sending a lot of man coverage and a lot of man blitzes at him, like with really no variance. Sean McDermott's done some things based on who the Chiefs have personnel wise. Like last week, they played a lot. Last year, in the 2 matchups, they played a lot of man coverage against the Chiefs. I will venture to say that won't be sticky here with Rashee Rice being involved in these matchups. But anytime you get Josh Allen in these games, though, he's running a ton against these man coverage and all these blitzes. He is averaging 10.4 rushing attempts per game against the Chiefs, with double-digit rushing attempts in 7 straight games against them as well. So he's rushing for 54 yards per game, a low of 32 over those 9-game sample. Chiefs also, they get up rushing yards because they play so aggressively. So this is a game where I look at the Bills side, and maybe you can push me some other Bills, but like I think I just play Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen is the move because I don't think the Chiefs give up ceiling games to Khalil Shakir or Dalton Kincaid. If you want to play those guys, I think it's fine, but I don't think they're giving up ceiling games to those guys.
Yeah, I was going to ask you like where are you going with Josh, and I think the answer is nobody, honestly. Just schematically speaking, like pretty poor spot for Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid, and then you look at Keon Coleman, he's probably going to see some lockdown coverage throughout. I would expect that we see coverage rolled and or a lot of man on Keon this week. Can he go do that high point stuff without without or I guess I should say with a low open score, with a small ass, we'll say, for those fantasy points bros in the crowd, potentially, but I don't see the path to a ceiling enough for me to be overly excited about that. Rashee Rice, man, how do you compare him to some of the other wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown? We have Puka Nacua on the slate. We mentioned Justin Jefferson. Devontae Adams also priced in his range. Talk to me a little bit about Rice.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him now. He got bumped up last week after running around on 48% of the dropbacks in his first game back. He was up to 83% on Monday night. I mean, going back to last season, I mean, he's been the wide receiver 16 in weekly scoring or higher in 5 straight games. Over his past 11 regular season games, he's been a wide receiver 2 or better in 10 of them, with 6 wide receiver 1 scoring weeks. And if we do get kind of the Bills to shift back to like a zone-based team, I mean, this is like his career signal, right? Like this is what he does, all those underneath stuff. I mean, since he entered the NFL, he's averaging 3.2 yards per out run with a target on 30% of his routes against zone coverage as well. So, also Bills, doesn't even matter what coverage they're running this year. They're 31st in points allowed to wide receiver 1s this year.
Yeah.
Like even last week with whatever Andy Dalton was doing, Ted McMillan still had 7 for 99. Zay Flowers had 7 for 143 and 1. Diggs 10 for 146 against them. Drake London 10 for 158. And these are guys that like work in the area of the field that Rashee Rice works in. So I mean, I think he's probably my favorite of the top guys to pay up for. You can always play Puka Nacua. I love Amon-Ra as a tournament play as well. But I think as a core play, it's hard to come away from this particular matchup where we know the Chiefs are going to remain aggressive in a game that they want to win, and they're going to put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands, to say that that's not a signal for Rashee Rice here.
Yeah, I think my most interesting way, I think, to attack this game environment is playing Rashee Rice with Kareem Hunt and Josh Allen. So if this game takes off, you're capturing a lot of the touchdown expectation from the Chiefs, and you're getting a lot of it from the Bills through Josh Allen. So not like picking and choosing, like pretending we can know what to expect from any Bills pass catchers. Just say, like, I'm going to capture a lot of the touchdown expectancy from the team through Josh Allen. Kind of an interesting way that I don't think that the field will be on from this game that I think carries some significant upside. Any thoughts on playing Kareem Hunt with Rashee Rice and nobody else from this game?
With like just no Bill, like no
Mhm.
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably actually not gonna have. I probably will. Like James Cook is right on the fringe for me this week just because of how good he's been. And
Yeah.
he did have 2 touchdowns last time these teams played. To me, he'd be the only like Bill that I think I'm not going to chase any Bills pass catchers because I think even if they score, because they're going to Josh Allen's going to throw a touchdown to someone, potentially multiple
Yeah.
touchdowns. But I still don't think anyone here is. I'm not scared of anyone really shadow realming me out of the
Right.
Bills pass catcher side. So I don't think any of them are going to be in my pool. I think it's just a spot not to overthink Kareem Hunt too, as well. Like everything, he just checks too many boxes, right? Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones out for this game. They already rolled
Mhm.
Daquan Jones out too today. I checked before I got on. Bills have been one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. They also are one of the worst run defenses on inside zone run attempts, that's Kareem Hunt's 40% of his runs, inside zone runs. We've got him in a great game environment. And I don't believe we're going to see even Brashard Smith elevate to like the Samaj P. Ryan role. If you look back to like the 8 games Kareem Hunt played without Isaiah Pacheco last year, where Samaj P. Ryan was playing those passing down snaps. We haven't seen Brashard Smith be trusted in pass protection, be
Yeah.
trusted in any of those situations. So it's hard for me to believe he'll be elevated. I see Brashard Smith as more this week as like a Mecole Hardman adjacent player. Like
Yeah. The gadget dude. Yeah.
he's going to have design. He's going to have some design stuff for him for sure. But he's been an awful runner and like the down to down like stuff. I just think in a big game environment, they are comfortable with Kareem Hunt. They know
Right.
what he provides.
Yeah. So
So
if he takes on, he's already got the goal line role. If he takes on like a chunk of the expectation from Isaiah Pacheco, we're looking at potential 18-22 opportunities with goal line stuff.
yes.
So
I just
yeah,
don't want to overthink it because I know people will be like, well, this is a guy that has to have multiple touchdowns to get there. And I'm like, he just checks too many boxes. He's too cheap.
you're right.
I'm just gonna is he chalk? Yes. But it makes he checks everything we're looking for.
Yeah. Gives you access to that value piece as well. Again, pending the injuries at running back, this could be a very, very interesting week to go 3 by pay down running backs. You're obviously
Yeah.
you're running the risk of being shadow realmed by one of these higher price guys. But if you get all 3, if you get them all hitting for 20, 25 fantasy points, could be that value piece that you need to unlock some interesting builds here.
Well, that's how you get to, because right now, without knowing who's available, we're assuming Henderson now will be available with Ramondre not practicing today. But if it ends up being Henderson, Hunt, Monangai, I mean, that's how you get to Amon-Ra plus Rashee Rice.
Right. And still pay up at quarterback.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
depending on what you do at tight end. Yeah. Very, very interesting. Like you could theoretically pull that Detroit overstack, remove Jahmyr Gibbs from it, play 3 of these low running back pieces and still get access to immense ceiling. Just fun to be had between the sheets here. All right, let's move on to our hidden hammers. I mentioned 2 of them that I was going to save, but we talked about those game environments, those being Gunnar Helm and Jawan Jennings. So I'll throw it to you as I dig up another one here. Give me a hidden hammer.
My guy was gonna be Alec Pierce, and then we did that. Do I have another one kind of tricky down here? And then I did Lions, like the non-hidden hammer is Lions.
Yeah.
Today, do
The
I have
hidden in plain
another?
sight hammer.
Yeah, the hidden in plain sight hammer. I'm trying to think if I have another one that we didn't get to. We talked about, all these guys, right? I don't know if I have it. And we talked about Juwan Jennings, who was on my short list, and you got to
Yes.
him too.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think I'm pretty covered. Like those, I think are enough cheapies to kind of provide as like the one-offs that. And we talked about Wan'Dale Robinson. Like these are all guys that are on my short list for the value plays. So, hit me with what you got. I mean, not disappointed. We just talked about all the guys that I had to like potentially sneak up here.
Yeah. I'll go a higher price in a guy that's just probably not going to garner a lot of ownership, and that's at quarterback in Justin Herbert. We talked about him. The addition of Aronde Gadsden to this offense is just allowing them to do some fun stuff. So if you go like Justin Herbert with Aronde Gadsden and then pick your poison at wide receiver for the Chargers, and this is like more of an MME play because it takes a lot of guesswork and they're not going to project well. And then bring it back with like Chimere DK. You're getting some significant upside in that game that I said, there might be some here maybe if the Titans are able to push back a little bit. So I'll go with that. Justin Herbert and Aronde Gadsden.
Just for grins, I ran one sim right now while you threw that out, just to give an example, where I just put Mononga, Henderson, and Hunt in.
Yeah.
And it spit back with those three running backs, Patrick Mahomes, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamar Chase, Brock Bowers, and Juwan Jennings as the build around it.
That's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. I love it. All right, man. You got any parting shots here for Halloween Eve? We're Halloween. The Eve.
No, I hope everyone has a great time tonight with the Halloween being on the weekend. Everyone gets to have fun with their kids and then party like adults afterwards, man.
Yes, dude.
So yeah, I love it, man. I love this slate though. I think that this slate's gonna have a lot of variance in terms of the way people play it. And that's gonna be fun, man. And those are always the best. Because even if we're gonna end up with chalky pieces because of the cheap running backs, the way they're the rosters are constructed around those pieces are going to be unique.
Yes. Yeah. It's a very, very fun week to attack in that aspect. All right, y'all. I am Hilow. He is Rich. You know where to find me over at oneweekseason.com. You know where to find him over at sharpfootballanalysis.com. Again, you can use code Halloween over at Sharp Football for 50% off site-wide. Go take advantage of that. And then the Bink machine over at OWS is only $49 for the remainder of the season. So go check out that as well. That equates to about $3.50 per week. Until next week, you all, we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards. Peace.
1 week season.